Well, hello, everybody. Hopefully, you can see and hear me quite clearly. If you can, just give me a quick virtual high five, a little raise the hand or a yes in the chat function. Fabulous. Good stuff. Okay, I think we're about ready to rock and roll. Welcome, everybody, to this bite-sized session where we're going to be taking a look at um, one of my favorite topics. I love talking about happiness. It's such an interesting topic to me. But thank you so much, everybody, for prioritizing your well-being and your time and joining this short session. It is going to be recorded, so you will get a chance to access this again and watch it and rewatch it if you want to a little bit later on. But what we're going to do, because we've got such a short period of time, and gosh knows how I'm going to manage to keep it to 25 minutes because I love talking about it so much. But let's get stuck into it. This is part of our Habits for Health program. And, if you're journeying through the program systematically, this will be at module 12. And this is a topic that's kind of relevant to all of us, right? It's something that we all kind of lean towards, we all kind of strive for. We all want to kind of discover different ways to feel happy or happier and increase our own levels of happiness and perhaps influence and increase the levels of happiness of other people as well, the people that we live with, we work with and socialize with. So hopefully today we're going to give you a little bit of information to prompt a little bit more thought and importantly more action when it comes to experiencing happiness in our lives. I think we're about ready to rock and roll. Give me a high five if you've got a nice warm drink or a glass of water at hand. We will be finishing in less than 30 minutes, so I invite you to be as present as you possibly can and enjoy your time just to reflect a little bit about what it really means to you. So let's jump into it and see how we get on. Click. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today, we're going to look at really what does happiness mean and what is subjective well-being and how does that relate to happiness as well. So we're going to understand a little bit more about those two things. We're also going to look at some of the mechanisms linking happiness to longevity and what does that really mean for us as well. And we're going to look at the brain science as well. Just very briefly today, we're going to touch on neuroplasticity and how we can tap into experiencing a dose of happiness. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. But I'm going to encourage you initially to share with me and perhaps everybody else in the chat function if you want to. Take a moment just to reflect. What do you feel contributes most to your day-to-day happiness? Share with me in the chat function. What do you think? Take a moment to pause and to think, what do you feel contributes most to your levels of happiness throughout your day? Is it something that you do? Is it someone that you're with? Is it a location? Take a moment just to reflect. When do you feel like you experience happiness in your day? What are you doing? Who are you with? Where are you? Time in nature, yeah, lovely stuff. Family time. My dog's just had an operation. And he was wearing a cone of shame for a while, but he's definitely on the mend now. Spending time outdoors, being at home with my children, my family, love it. Feeling the sun. It's gorgeous out here today. Blue skies and sun is shining. I can't wait to get outside for my lunchtime walk today. Great stuff. And it's great, isn't it, that we pause sometimes just to notice these things. When are we happiest? And when we're happy, do we feel more motivated? Do we feel more confident in our abilities? Do we feel like we have greater levels of self-efficacy and self-belief that we can go and achieve those things that we want to go and achieve? What other things kind of accompany these feelings of happiness and positive emotions that we experience? Wonderful reflections. Thank you so much. It's always a real privilege, as always, to get a little bit of an insight. Good weather at this time. Yeah, lovely. Fabulous. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about happiness and about subject. So what is happiness then? What does happiness mean to us? Now, happiness, I guess, for some of us is I don't know, it's like a state of mind, isn't it? It's often characterized by contentment, love, satisfaction, pleasure, joy, these sorts of things. And it can be interpreted I guess, many different ways, and it's subjective, right? So what makes you happy might necessarily make me happy, and vice versa. But it can be interpreted in lots of different ways. Ancient Greek philosophers said that, well, they argued that a fulfilled life was a happy life. Scottish philosopher David Hume focused on the attention to moral goodness, and he asked, what can we do that gives people happiness? And he concluded that our actions can be judged by how much pleasure they yield in other people and the community. Gandhi said, the happiness of individuals shouldn't be built upon the unhappiness of others. I guess we could say that happiness is a state. It's like a state of flourishing. It involves a sense of personal fulfillment, I guess. What does happiness mean to you? Share with me your thoughts. What's bouncing around in your brain intuitively when we ask the question, what is happiness? And it's generally considered, the emotional component of something called subjective well-being. And subjective well-being is kind of a broader kind of scientific concept that encompasses both how people evaluate their lives, so cognitively, so how they evaluate their kind of life satisfaction, and how they experience their emotions, so both positive emotions and negative emotions. Now, subjective well-being is a key component of mental well-being. Let's have a little look and dive a little bit deeper here. Now, often we use them interchangeably, subjective well-being and mental well-being. But subjective well-being primarily emphasizes high life satisfaction, as you can see, frequent positive emotions and low negative emotions. And it's part of that broader kind of multi-dimensional definition of mental well-being. So you can see where happiness kind of sits in the frequent positive emotions. One way we can deal with, or certainly cope better with, a very stressful life and a very challenging, difficult, adverse life is to practice engaging in activities where we experience more joy, happiness, contentment. Because if you're experiencing positive emotions, by default, you can't be experiencing negative emotions. So you can't be experiencing gratitude and stress and anxiety at exactly the same time. So one way to approach kind of stress management could be to perhaps plan, schedule, and complete more activities that drive happiness and more positive emotions in us. So, it's about how people feel about their lives. Subjective well-being is about how people feel about their lives. And I love this little quote, at the bottom: happiness is living a rich, full, and meaningful life in which we feel the full range of emotions. It's a bit of a myth, isn't it, that we think sometimes that we should always feel happy all the time. And if we're not happy, we're kind of somehow kind of broken, It's not that happiness is not a default kind of state for humans. It's important and even essential, isn't it, that we feel different emotions throughout our day. I mean, we don't expect it to be gorgeous and sunny like it is today in the middle of winter. So it changes, doesn't it? Our emotions change. And living a rich, full, and meaningful life in which we experience a full range of emotion is I think a nice way to look at it, according to Dr. Harris as well. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because of course there's bi-directional kind of focusing. So, if you're experiencing good health, if you're in good health, it makes it easier for you to achieve higher levels of well-being and happiness. And conversely, if you have if you're experiencing high levels of subjective well-being, and we know that subjective well-being and happiness have been proven to boost kind of your immune system and been proven to increase your longevity. So there's that bi-directional thing. If we're doing things and doing actions where we experience more positive emotions in our day, it's actually going to contribute to greater health. If we control and improve our health, it's much more likely that we're going to experience perhaps greater levels of subjective well-being as well. Hope that makes sense. Okay, click. There we go. So let's take a minute just to reflect around some of those mechanisms. So happiness considerably and significantly contributes to a longer health span by improving physical health and encouraging healthier behaviors. Now, it seems that there is that link, isn't there, between, good health and subjective well-being and subjective well-being and good health and longer life. So let's take a moment just to look at some of these connections and mechanisms. So when we start to think about physical health benefits, positive emotions, as you can see, are associated with reduced risk of disease, lower mortality rates. Happiness can lead to lower blood pressure, reduced stress levels, and better wound healing. So when we start to consider the impact of just getting a little bit more movement, a little bit more physical activity in our day, it's going to contribute to how we feel. And we're all aware, aren't we, of some of the kind of physical, mechanical benefits, aesthetic benefits of doing activity and exercise and those sorts of things, but it's also the psychological releases sometimes. Give me a high five. Do you enjoy getting physically active, not just because you're outside and you're physically active, but because it makes you feel a bit better? It's good for your mood when you're outside. Give me a high five. Yeah, right. So when we're really busy, when we're physically active, we're not designed to sit on a bum. We're not designed to stay still. We're designed to move and do it outside. Get those active minutes in sunlight outside. It's great for your mood, your digestion, your immunity, your sleep, all of those things. It makes you feel great. Happier people are more likely to engage in healthier behaviors such as regular exercise, eating nutritious diet, and getting sufficient sleep. If we're experiencing positive emotions, we're more likely to feel a little bit more motivated at whatever task we're engaged in at that time. So we end up choosing these tasks and successfully completing these tasks if we're experiencing more positive emotions and less negative emotions. Because it's not just experiencing positive emotions, is it? Because we can work hard to experience positive emotions, but if we're still experiencing lots of negative emotions, that's not quite the same. So we want to experience positive emotions and more positive emotions, simultaneously trying to reduce and manage our negative emotions as well. Lowered stress and disease, as you can see here, happiness and positive emotions, of course, they act as a bit of a buffer against things like depression, against things like mental illness, stress, challenge, disease, all these sorts of things, as we're alluding to here. And importantly and critically here, social connections. I can't bang on about this enough, and it's the leading prime mover, isn't it, for longevity, is social connections and happiness. Maintaining those strong social relationships, nurturing new relationships, but focus on the most important relationships in your life at the moment. I mean, take a moment right now, take a moment to reflect. Who is the most important person in your life at the moment? And now think about, when was the last time, here's something interesting to consider. When was the last time you said an authentic thank you to that person? In fact, send it today at some point, send a text message, write a handwritten letter, do whatever you need to do, but say thank you to the most important person in your life at the moment. For nothing, for no real desire for any kind of extrinsic kind of motivation or reward that you're going to get. Just say thank you. And this is what I really appreciate you at the moment. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for helping me with that. I just wanted to say thanks. And it's not, it makes you feel good. They're going to feel great. Imagine how you're going to feel receiving a text message like that as well. Build those social connections. If you notice that you're experiencing higher levels or more frequent times of loneliness and isolation, work hard to reconnect, push yourself hard to connect socially and see how you get on. If you need to reach out for support, reach out for support. We're here, wellbeing coaches, wellbeing people, and there are definitely people around you that would be grateful and feel privileged to be asked, for you to lean on their shoulder a little bit. Give me a high five if you had to lean on someone, and if you had to go out and chat to someone and release a little bit of tension. Do you know who that person would be? Give me a high five. If you had to reach out for a bit of support, do you know who you would reach out to? Perhaps say thank you to those people. But great stuff. Okay. So building a happy brain. So if happiness is good medicine, how do we get our dose? Now, a dose is an acronym for these kind of four key chemicals in our brain that influence our levels of happiness and mood and things like that. And these are the brain's kind of happy chemicals. Now, on both a biological and a mental kind of level, they release these happy, our brain releases these happy chemicals that make us feel good, right? And because we're feeling good, we want to experience it again, and the chemicals want us to. The more we experience it, the more we want to experience it again. So it drives that kind of desire, that motivation to go out and experience it again. And these chemicals are known as dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. Now, perhaps you've heard of some of these. And dopamine, and again, this is considered, it's one of the four key chemicals here for our brain, happy chemicals for our brain. This is commonly considered the happiness chemical. And it's often kind of involved in anticipation of events. It's often involved or perhaps identified as perhaps a get up and go kind of compound that the brain uses to help get us motivated. It helps us move towards attaining a goal or in achieving something or increasing our productivity. So lower levels of this particular hormone or chemical can perhaps be related to things like procrastination or a little bit of self-doubt. Give me a high five. Do you find sometimes that procrastination is a bit of a challenge for you? If it is, then we need to work at perhaps engaging in activities that release a little bit more dopamine. Now we can think of, other activities when, completing a task, performing some sort of self-care, creating something, trying something new, trying something different, learning something new. We're working towards something. The next one we're going to talk about is oxytocin. Now, this is a neurochemical, and it's allowed us to be kind of social creatures, right? It's also known as the love drug, and it promotes greater, stronger social bonds and healthier social interactions with us. It's that hormone that gets released when we kind of share a compliment, or when we're with our friends, when we're showing affection to other people, when we're doing something for somebody else, we get this release of oxytocin. Some of you mentioned pets. If we're with a pet, if we're stroking our pet, when we've got that connection, when we're bonding, it's known as that bonding hormone, love hormone. And again, this gets released when we do certain actions as well. The next is serotonin. Many of you may have heard of serotonin. This helps regulate our mood. It's our mood regulator. It helps control and maintain kind of our gut as well, homeostasis, that balance within our gut. And it's important for physiological processes like absorbing nutrients. It's important for blood flow. It's important for our immune system as well. And it's a mood stabilizer. So when we are engaging in actions like physical activity or exercise, when we're practicing meditations, or mindfulness, staying nice and present, when we're eating a healthy meal, when we're outside enjoying the sunshine, we're releasing serotonin. And the last of our dose chemicals here is, of course, endorphins. Now, endorphins, they're associated, aren't they, often with kind of exercise and activity. And the brain secretes these endorphins as a response to stress, such as kind of exercise or eating a curry, for example. You release those endorphins. They're the body's kind of natural pain relievers. So you might release a lot of endorphins as well, not just by doing exercise, but by laughing a lot. I mean, give me a high five. Can you remember the last time you laughed out loud and had a really good belly laugh? Was it within the last week? Was it within the last kind of 36 hours? So having a good belly laugh releases endorphins. Play, fun, taking a hot bath, doing some dancing, all of these things are going to release endorphins. Now, it's not just that they release them kind of independently. So one activity might actually release a whole myriad of, or a mixture, or even all of these specific chemicals. So it's not just one kind of size fits all, one action or activity will give you just this one result. It's likely that there will be a knock-on effect, and you may well experience kind of getting a dose of your happy chemicals. So your brain wants all of them. So this is what we want to do. We want to give ourselves and our brain a well-balanced diet of happiness. So how do we do that? How can we trigger the brain to releasing more dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphin? And this is why, although we can, Abraham Lincoln said we're about as happy as we make our minds up to be. I mean, do we agree with him? Can we think ourselves happy? Or do you think happiness is about what you do? We have to do stuff to feel happy. I guess it's probably a mixture. I would say it's about action, right? We can challenge negative thoughts. We want to take action to make us feel good, to release these hormones, to get a dose of happiness. We could argue, okay, well, it's not just about how we think about things, it's kind of about our choices and what we actually do. Nice one. Okay. So just to continue, just pause for a second and let me ask you this. When was the last time someone gave you a compliment? And interestingly, while you're pondering that question, because I'm pondering it now as well, when was did you accept the compliment or did you just brush it off? Do you feel like you're pretty good at accepting compliments? Give me a high five if you feel like you're pretty good at accepting compliments. Or does it make you feel a bit prickly when someone gives you a compliment? Like, oh, don't really notice it. So we brush it off, don't we? We laugh, right? We don't really notice it. And our brain, it's interesting, isn't it? Because our brain has evolved this kind of negativity bias. It makes it makes our brain like Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good experiences. So we're literally programmed to notice the bad things. And we need to mindfully, actively notice and stay with some of those good things, because someone can pass on a compliment, give us a bit of praise or give us a bit of recognition, and we may well kind of just dismiss it out of hand. But if we can absorb that feeling of gratitude or happiness or pleasure that you're experiencing, then we start to kind of build those neural pathways. The graphic you can see up on your screen here is of what's known as it's called a Holloway, and these are created um, from thousands of like journeys up and down the same path. And it's similar in our brains, we can strengthen, create new pathways if we kind of take that same route. And I guess what the research was saying was, and it's a book, it's a wonderful book. It's up here, Hardwiring Happiness by Rick Hanson. I don't know if you're interested in a little bit of data, a little bit of books, but he was saying it's all about absorbing the moment. It's all about drinking in the feelings and the emotions and spending time feeling like that. As someone saying in the chat function, giving myself compliments, a bit of self-compassion and yeah, lovely stuff. So here we're talking about being, well, first of all, raising your awareness. Notice those feelings. Notice when you're feeling good. I used to do it when the kids were younger. I used to like purposely, I've got two daughters. When they were like 6 and 3 or 5 and 2, whatever it was, I would, without fail, every single morning, I would try and do it in the morning. I would try and get them and hold them on my lap and just sit down with them and just absorb, and just take a big sigh and just try and absorb that feeling of gratitude and things like that. So we spend time absorbing that feeling. When we do, it's like survival of the busiest. The brain will kind of repeat it. We will get, what binds together fires together. They work together, these neurons in our brain. And if we can embed the feeling, notice it and stay with it, we start to experience happiness at a much deeper level. So how do we do that? We notice the good. We first of all have to give ourselves permission to be present. Do you do that in your day? Do you take a moment to notice a bit of beauty, to notice a bit of happiness? to be mindful of perhaps a lovely feeling, or looking at a photo and noticing that you're reminiscing? Do we notice a beautiful sky or a smell or taste? So we have to give ourselves permission, don't we, to be present, be grateful. Is that something that you could work at just a little bit more? And actively notice it, pause to notice it. Sometimes when I'm out on my walk, if I notice a flower, a pretty flower, I'll pause, or notice an insect on a leaf or something like that, I'll just pause to look. Or notice a nice view or something like that, I'll take a big deep breath and try and soak it up a little bit. Do you give yourself permission to be present enough in your day? Whoops, jumped ahead. Do we pause and breathe? And again, this is really, really critical, isn't it? Do we notice what we're doing and where we are and how we're feeling in the moment? Great thing I'm going to encourage you to practice, do it quite often, is just to find some mindful minutes in your day, some silence, mindful silence. Can you find some mindful silence today? Just 3, 4, 5 minutes. It might be just taking yourself off to a quiet place within your work environment. It might be going to stand in the middle of the garden like I do sometimes and just lean back and just look up at the sun. My neighbours must think I'm a bit odd, but do we find, and can you find, 5 minutes of mindful silence today? Give me a high five. Think you're going to try and do that today? Just find some silence. Just absorb, just notice how you're feeling. Notice your senses, pay attention to your senses. How are you feeling right now? And the last one, practice mindfulness. Now, mindfulness, it's not passive thinking. Mindfulness is active thinking. I actively have to focus my attention. I have to be non-judgmental. I have to notice what's going on in the moment. Develop that mental fitness to pay attention and absorb it, because great things happen. People say lovely things to us, and sometimes we just don't notice them. We just don't notice them, right? And unless we pause to absorb it and to really just pay attention, and sometimes it takes someone else to say something that we thought was really insignificant, but actually when someone else said it, we go, oh yeah, actually yeah, I did do really well. I did that. Oh yeah, actually. Because sometimes we don't notice it, and it can just flow through us like water through a sieve. As you can see, unless we consciously take in those good experiences, it can wash through our brain like water through a sieve. So when you notice the next great thing, funny thing, amusing thing, a bit of beauty, whatever you notice, next time you're feeling and experiencing positive emotions, pause and drink it in. It sounds dead easy. Give it a try. It's always worth a try, right? We're either going to win or learn. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? What's going to be something? Let me ask you guys a question just before I share this with you, and then we'll wrap up. Share with me in the chat function. What's the one thing that you can do today that will improve or increase your levels of happiness at work? Share with me in the chat function. What's the one thing that you can do today that if you did this thing, it would kind of give you amazing, positive, marvelous results? What's the one thing you can do at work today that will give you an increase or an improvement in your levels of positive emotion, happiness, joy, pleasure, and those sorts of things? Just do a little bit of movement, someone's saying. So it can start very simple like that, which is really, really important. Go outside and stand in the sunshine for a minute. I plan on doing that as well. And secondly, what's the one thing you can do outside of work that will improve and support your happiness? Share with me in the chat function. What's the one thing that you can do outside of work? So to-do list, go to the gym, bit of self-care. Lovely. And those are great questions. Sometimes we talk about it in the Habits for Health program about, the one thing. What's the one thing you can do today? I tend to write down the one thing I'm going to do personally, the one thing I'm going to do professionally today that's going to help me take one step closer to my optimal well-being goal. Connect with friends. Absolutely. Absolutely. Brilliant stuff. Grab your phones, everybody, and follow this QR code here that you can see up on your screen at the moment. Follow this QR code and it takes you to this little handout, which is, we call it kind of happy habits, kind of lucky dip. And it's just a PDF that you can print off. You can cut them up, and it's just got lots of different little actions in there, from telling someone a joke, to completing a task, to going for a walk, to making a recipe, to connecting with one of your friends or somebody else. There's lots of these wonderful little actions, and the idea here is to cut them all into little pieces, fold them up, put them in a little jar, and every morning when you come into work or when you come to your workstation, you can pick one of these out and focus on that particular happy. It's kind of like that fishbowl habits jar sort of activity. Now, what a great thing about this is, if you're working in in an office space with lots of people, you can design those little habits, just write down those little things yourself, and create this big bowl full of these happy habits that oh, this is what I'm going to focus on, or try to focus on today. Something to experiment with, something to do, is a little bit of fun. We'll see how we go. Let me do this, and this. Good stuff. Now, I've just launched the feedback poll. Before you escape today, share with me, what are you going to do? What's been fun about taking 30 minutes today just to pause, reflect around your happiness? What does happiness mean to you? What are you going to do today to promote happiness? What are you going to do at work? What are you going to do away from work? Give it a try. Before you escape today, please complete the feedback poll. It'd be much appreciated. And reach out here for support. We are here with open arms. If you need a little chat, if you want to grab a 15-minute, 30-minute video call, please let us know. hello@wellbeingpeople.com, and we'll happily try and fit you in and make some time to connect. Remember, whatever you're going to experiment with, make it accessible, make it achievable, so that you can experience a little bit more success. Notice the small things. Great stuff. And remember, happiness, like optimal well-being, is very personal, subjective. Prioritizing your happy habits promote improved health, energy, and longevity. If you haven't gone and watched the happiness module yet, why not take a little peek and see what you think? Other than that, thank you so much for being here and being present, taking time out of your busy day. It's very much appreciated. And before you leave, complete the feedback poll. That'd be amazing. Other than that, enjoy working at your happiness, not necessarily chasing after it, but being proactive with the choices that you make in your day. You guys were awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for your interactions in the chat function. I'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your day. Well done, team. See you later.